My friends, good evening. I don't know if you've been following this story that's unfolding right now in the North Atlantic. Near the wreck of the Titanic, which sank at a depth of 3,800 meters in 1912. And actually, there's a company called Oceangate, which already sounds like the name of a scandal. It reminds me of Watergate and Irangate. Actually, it's a company that offers underwater expeditions aboard submersibles of its own making. So these devices are made by this company. They're purely experimental machines. They're not certified by anyone. They're not guaranteed by anyone. And right now, there are 5 guys in one of these submersibles. They left on Sunday morning to dive to the wreck of the Titanic, and we haven't heard from them. The problem is, when they started diving on Sunday at 8 a.m., they had 96 hours of oxygen. 4 days, so to speak. And then this will run out on Thursday morning. So when I look at this story, I'm pretty stunned. So, of course, I'll tell you right away, I'm not in the submarine business. So there are people, maybe those who work in that field, who might criticize what I'm going to say tonight. Some things still shock me, especially from an aviation and air industry perspective. First of all, when you look at this submarine, it's operated by a controller. It's a kind of game controller made by Logitech, so it can be used with PlayStation type consoles. So in a commercial airplane, I don't know. For submarines, again, I'll stay humble regarding that environment. In aviation, that would be absolutely unacceptable. That means, for example, you couldn't imagine an Airbus where the control stick has been replaced. Using a mini stick, a Logitech device or a gaming device, right? Since this controller has about 50% negative reviews on Amazon, that's especially concerning. That means if you look at 3, 2, 1 stars, there are a lot of negative reviews. And in particular, what are people complaining about? They're complaining about unexpected disconnections. And they say, there you go, I started playing and I died, I got killed. Now, when you die in a game, it's not the same as when you die in real life. If you guys took a controller on a Boeing or on an Airbus, which is built for what we call mission critical, which is built for critical missions, that means that inside it has self-test circuits, it has built-in redundancy, it has been tested for the most extreme conditions, it has a huge mean time between failures. Well, maybe it was negotiated with the AFA, but in any case, the thing is, it seems to me, of course, I don't know how it works. In submarines, it might be acceptable, but purely from an aviation standpoint, it's an astonishing choice. This tube, because actually, it's a tube made of steel and titanium, was coated. When you look at the company's website, it was coated with carbon fiber. So they took a tube, it looks like a big cylinder, it's a big cigar, and then they started wrapping it. So they wrapped fibers, there's a machine, it spins, and then it wraps. And they put on about 12.5 cylinder fiber thickness, which, in their opinion, guarantees it down to 4,000 meters deep, with the Titanic being at about 3,800 meters. So when it reaches the level of the Titanic, it has about 200 meters of margin to reach its maximum depth, certified by no one, of course. These 4,000 meters, it's not like we've made 50 of them and sent them to great depths and then seen how much they can withstand. It's just a rough estimate. There's something quite strange, and again, I'm talking about the aviation side. Look, I took an empty can, and let's say I want to reinforce it. So I can reinforce it, for example, with fibers. Let's say I can reinforce it either with this or with fibers. So let's say I want to reinforce it with fibers. So I take my can, right? Maybe I'll attach it here. I have an idea to attach it here. Why not? That might be good, all right? And after that, what I do is I'll do like they did. That means I'm going to wrap, right? I'm going to wrap my string, right? My carbon fiber on the spool to reinforce it. You see what I'm doing? I'm reinforcing my spool. And I could potentially send 12.5 thickness of stuff, you get it, of carbon fiber. That's pretty much it, the construction. So from a physics standpoint, it's that this type of system, this kind of thing I just showed you here, it works extremely well. When the overpressure comes from inside, it means when there is hyperpressure. For example, if you take the Airbus A350 when it's in cruise flight, it's made of carbon fiber. Well, it's pressurized. That means that in reality, the pressure inside is higher than the pressure outside. So when there are forces that tend to push this sheet outward, having those fibers is actually a welcome reinforcement. When we're in the logic of a submarine, which seems very particular to me, given the equipment used, well, unfortunately, this won't provide much guarantee because the pressure comes from outside. You'll notice that even a single strand of this fiber can hold several dozen kilos. And did you see how many turns I made there? If I want to break the fiber from the inside, at this point, it would probably take several hundred kilos to do it. But from the outside, you can see, from the outside, okay, I don't really have any guarantee against pressures coming from outside. So I can pretty easily, can I, crush this object? That's the first thing. Another thing I noticed is that this device, this submersible, seems to be made of odds and ends. That is, for example, they're very proud to explain that. There you go. For example, the tubes you can hold on to are tubes they bought in a store for caravans. They have a television that seems to be some kind of television they brought back from a television store. They have faucets, you know, they have faucets, and these faucets, there are texts that are written with a pen. That means we have a kind of adhesive tape that's placed there, a kind of gaffer tape, and on top with a thick marker. We wrote, what is this for these things? So in terms of indication, in terms of ergonomics, there's a lot to say. And besides, we don't see any redundancy. We just see these faucets that are there. So if I don't know, for example, there's one labeled high pressure air, probably means pressurized air. It probably allows you to drain the water that's in there. In the ballast, there's another one called solid ballast, likely lead, which lets the device sink. And then it can release, right? It can let go. But the problem is, let's imagine it's at depth. He wants to go back up if he turns his handle, and what if it comes off in his hand? Well, he's in a really tough spot because it looks like some kind of crank you'd find in a house for a water pipe or something like that. It looks like a really basic thing that he probably bought at a hardware store. So if he turns the handle and it comes off in his hands, it's really annoying if he breaks it. Because then you'd need pliers and maybe tweezers, something like that. It's not something you can easily find at those depths. 5 guys went down inside. There was a pilot, and then there were 4 people, mostly British, including a father and his 19-year-old son. And just imagine, they each paid $230,000 to be there. That means that this father and his son paid nearly $500,000 for the expedition, literally in a kind of big pressure cooker made of makeshift objects. So the controllers are basically things from home plumbing. Actually, you know, household stuff. The controller is a €40 thing from Logitech, and it messes up all the time. So now the porthole, we're wondering what it is. It's a washing machine porthole. The bolts it's attached with are 80-cent bolts from eBay. This whole thing seems completely shaky, and I'm stunned that people pay such high amounts, put their lives in such precarious devices, and then go into great depths. It's just astonishing. I can't get over it. We keep criticizing helicopters, criticizing Airbus and Boeing and all that on this channel. But I feel like with submarines, it's still the Middle Ages at this point. So what happened is that they lost communication with them. So there's no response. There's no sign of life. They're looking for them. The problem is there's only 40 hours of oxygen left, assuming they even need it at this point. Because the problem is, if it's a crack at that depth, if there's a crack or overpressure that crushed this vessel, the problem of oxygen doesn't arise at this stage. The American military is searching. They have a device, they have a kind of robot that can go to those depths, and the problem is time. It's that you can't deploy rescue teams quickly in those places. It takes time. You need equipment that is very heavy, sometimes on the other side of the world, and it doesn't move just like that. And that's also part of the problems with this kind of expedition, that people, when they went down in this device, they had to know that there is no redundancy built in, as I just described to you. Well, they had to know that in case of a problem, even a minor one, there would be no one to rescue them. Their oxygen would run out before a submersible could reach that depth to help them. That's the problem. Inside there, it's extremely claustrophobic. It's a tube. There are no seats. There's nothing. It's just a steel tube inside. Just sit down, remove your shoes, get in, sit shoulder to shoulder, and go down. Just like the old miners used to go down in those elevators that went into the bowels of the earth. Well, there you go. There is growing concern about them. Here in the United Kingdom, everyone is talking about it. But to be honest, I don't know if at this point we should keep up any illusions. Anyway, thank you, my friends, for watching this video. Thank you to... I'm stunned, really. And we'll see the news in the coming days if there is any... which will happen very soon. We'll see the news in the coming days if there is any... which will happen. See you very soon.